Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of how to use ChatGPT to improve your GCSE English skills, or indeed any other GCSE or even A-level skill that you are struggling with. As we approach exam season, we are now at the kind of end of our teaching structure. So it's important to come back to those fundamental skills. One of the most fundamental skills in GCSE English language is that of identifying and analyzing the use of language and structure techniques. So let's get started. Today's video is going to be all about how to extract those techniques, learn how to use them, learn how to visualize your responses, and make things easy. So I've already started already, and I'm going to talk you through exactly what's going on here. So we'll zoom in a little bit. So what I've done here is I've set my task up and I've said, using the fiction extract provided, help me extract language and structure techniques, explaining how you identified them, how they work, what their general effect is, and what their relevance to the attached question is. Do include clear explanations, use bold and italic text to make meanings obvious, examples of how certain language and structure techniques interact with each other to get a desired effect, relating to the reader and the question. Now, this is very important there because you don't want to just start generically pumping things out. You've got to make sure it's relevant to the question. Make sure to include thoughtful analysis, which is up to a grade 9 GCSE English language standard. Don't include the obvious stuff, American English, information about the story not present in the extract. And as for context, which of course you can change, I'm a GCSE English language student, currently sitting at a grade 3 and looking to get a grade 5, but ideally much higher. Now, why I've said this is because I want it to stay simple. I don't want it to overwhelm me with loads of information, but I want to give it the opportunity to kind of expand my knowledge where we can. I go on to say, I struggle with picking data out of extracts, so please be clear. For this prompt, we are focused on edXL's GCSE English Language Paper 1. Now, whatever your exam board is, whether it's AQA, OCR, you just change that yourself. And if you're not studying GCSE English Language and it's literature, you can do exactly the same. Just make sure you identify it there. And I've said the question asked, how does the writer use language and structure to show the thoughts and feelings of the narrator as he approaches and meets the man? Now, as for the extract, brand new tip for you. So I've got it up here, and all you have to do to get it on here is you can either click the plus button if you're on a computer, add photos or files. And if you're on a Windows computer, you can just use the snipping tool, which you can then drag and drop a box around the digital extract and copy and paste it in. Now, if you are on your phone, what you can do is you can click this button and a camera option will come up. You then take a picture of your physical extract or even the screen, and it will upload it, and ChatGPT can read those. So, you've got no reason to copy and paste or retype. Make it quick, make it easy, and get it to do the hard work for you in this case. So once you've done that and you've given it the little extract, you press enter. And again, look what we've got here. It's given you a list of language techniques. It's given you quotes. It's explained how it's worked. It's told you the effects, and those are all things then you're going to read back that text and you're going to go, oh, I see that now, because it's no good just reading this and going, great. You have to go and then find it yourself just to see how it got to that conclusion. That's what's going to improve your skills, is using this like breadcrumbs, not using it as a replacement for you, because of course that's not going to be there in the exam. This is meant to help you, and it gives you loads of structure techniques, language techniques, everything you need is all here, and it's all really, really useful. Now, what I really love to see, especially in papers which ask you to look at language and structure together, which I know edXL does, but AQA doesn't to some extent, how does language and structure work together? Now, if you're looking to get that grade 9, folks, this is it. Make sure you comment on how those things work together in a synthesis, and you're going to get those top marks there. And a little summary there as well. A summary is always good. If you've got 5 minutes, look at how the extract starts to how it ends, and you're going to find yourself in receipt of some pretty good marks for that too. So I went on to say, thank you very much. Remember to always thank your AI in case it comes to you in the future. And I've said, how can I make it fit into my suggested response framework? We use T's. Now, if you use petal or pedal or PEE, then, go for it. Put it in there. But I use T's, my students use T's, and it works. So this could be your framework. So I've said T equals topic and techniques, where we repeat and rephrase the question, name both a language and structure technique. Evidence, provide direct quotes. And A stands for analyze and answer, where we analyze the meaning and effect of those techniques and answer the question. And S stands for symbolism, where we identify, if we can, any symbolic elements. Now, I always treat that one as like a little optional one. But as long as you remember T's and having your cup of tea, then you're going to be fine. And you've got to write 2 paragraphs of that. And for top responses, we compare how the extract started to how it ended. Now, that is a real good bit of advice, as I've said before. Make sure you're doing that comparison. And look what it's done. It's produced an absolutely marvelous T's response that if I got that as a teacher, I would give that instant grade 9. Perfect. It does everything we need. But again, useless unless you go and see how it's done it, because you're using this as a revision tool, not a replacement. Because ChatGPT is not going to be there in the exam, but it can get you used to thinking in this way. Okay. The more good work you see, the more good work that you actually read, the better you will get. Okay. So moving down, what I did next is I gave it a extract from paper 2, which is for GCSE in Edexcel. It is non-fiction. And it's slightly bigger text. So what I've said is we're looking at extract from paper 2, 20 and 21st century non-fiction. It's still language and structure focused, but as you'll know, if you sit GCSE English Language at Edexcel and to an extent AQA, it's all about focusing on how the reader is engaged by the writer. I wanted to use the T's framework, except now we're looking more at reader engagement, author intent, and S now stands for suggestion, where we focus in on what the writer may be suggesting, obviously or not obviously, so overtly and covertly to the reader. We should also try to write a 4th paragraph that creates a conclusion which explores the growth of this engagement throughout. If you're looking for those high grades, folks, you've got to get that conclusion in there. And there's the question there: how has the writer used language and structure to engage the reader? Nice and easy. And as we move down, it's going to produce a fantastic piece. So it gives you a technique, a structure technique, how they combine, and it just explores how they work. And it does an amazing what does the writer suggest down there? And I'm not going to go through these too much. You can pause it if you need to, but you'll see exactly that it kind of expands it a little bit. And again, writes a great conclusion. Now, one problem a lot of students face, and you're right to face it because it is really common, is explain how you came to those conclusions. Teach me how to look for and find these things. So again, it takes you step by step on how to do it. It tells you what to look for, what to feel, what to think, and how to go from obvious to unusual, and move on forward. Now, another question we get quite often as teachers is, I struggle with these texts because a lot of the time I'm not engaged or interested at all because it isn't my sort of thing. How can I work around that? You are not alone if you're like this. It is a massive problem because, of course, a lot of these extracts are designed to be read by many different types of people, often a lot older, often a lot, in the past. So how can we work around that? And what it's done, is it says, think like a critic, not a fan. So you're not being asked, do you personally like it? You're being asked, can you spot what the writer has tried to do to hook the reader, any reader? What kind of reader? What tools are they using to make someone else care? And again, it gives you some advice on how to say, okay, so why might someone who reads this not be bored? You're going to flip your own boredom on its head and think about who would this interest. And you're looking not at the content, but on the craft, like what are the words they're using? What are the lengths of sentences? Where are they coming from? What's the perspective? Do you feel closer, or do they want you to feel closer to them or further away? And you also, focus on that target audience as well. Practical tips: fake it till you make it. Underline the dramatic stuff, even if you don't like it. Ask yourself what the effect is, and make sure you're using these phrases. This might make, this use could. And again, it talks you through it. Please pause if you need to, and have a read this, because it's really, really useful. Again, the prompts will be down in the comments if you need them. The last thing I asked, just to make sure to complete this language and structure journey, I said, can you give me some language and structure techniques I'll normally always find in both types of extract with some generic responses I can drop into an analysis and expand on if need be to help my revision. Now this is if you're really struggling, if you're stuck at that grade 3, grade 4 boundary, memorizing a few of these could mean the difference between coming back to resit next year and a good solid pass. Okay, memorizing some generic sentences. So I've made a few for you here. So here we go. So the first one is imagery. Always going to be imagery. And again, it gives you a sample drag and drop paragraph. The writer uses vivid imagery, such as a quote, to engage the reader by creating a strong visual and emotional picture. This makes the scene feel more immediate and helps the reader imagine the experience clearly. Now, isn't that better than makes the reader want to read on? I've got to tell you, don't use that. So there you go, perfect paragraph there. So focus in on these. Got one from emotive language about the reader feeling shocked and how that enhances that emotional engagement, how short sentences can reflect tension and pace. Again, memorizing exactly the word order here is going to get you that mark you need. Shift in focus, first person narration or even third person if it's there. I love this one, my favorite, chronological structure about the events unfolding and what pace they do that. Rhetorical questions and a few mix and match ones there as well. So there we are. So what have we learned so far? So I've talked you through how to extract and understand language and structure techniques, how to frame an answer. We've talked about how to kind of reimagine the extract, so it's not about us being engaged, because it rarely ever is, and about how someone else might be engaged and why. We've also looked at a few drag and drops, so there are now phrases you can memorize, put into any answer you like, and as long as you kind of are half awake and can do a couple of quotes, you're going to get that grade 4, grade 5, and not have to resit come September. But if you're half awake and paying attention, you should now be able to identify these features yourself and really go for that high grade. So remember, learn to use AI, or AI will learn to use you.